Afternoon, America. Brian Jaden Blem here on, and welcome you back to another episode of What the Fuck's Up. I want to continue talking to you today about the bureaucracy because the bureaucracy is hugely important. You know, a long time ago, at the federal level, they patched the Hatch Act. And the Hatch Act was designed to protect civil servants, non-political appointed employees of the United States federal government, from being simply fired carte blanche by politicians when they came in, right? And so, you know, the belief is that if these people are non-political, they're non-partisan, they're simply doing their job of government, that, you know, the politicians shouldn't have the right to simply fire them. And so I think we need to take a strong look at the bureaucracy at the federal, state, and local level. Because, you know, what happens? This is the ultimate question, folks. You know, the Hatch Act at the federal level, and they have state and local rules as well that relate to civil servants and their employment with their government agency, whatever it happens to be, and what type of behaviors or political actions they can engage in. But we need to find a better line, I think, because you know, when you take a look at federal government employees, state government employees, and local government employees, they have in large part become very heavily politicized. Most of them lean Democrat, and a lot of them very actively advocate for employees in these different levels of government to use their power as bureaucrats to stymie political administrations or politicians with whom they disagree. And this is happening in large scale across the United States of America right now, especially as it relates to, you know, MAGA related candidates or pro Donald Trump related candidates. And it really happened wholeheartedly under President Donald Trump's first administration. And you can see as he's taken his broom that he understands what's taking place. But a lot of people don't, and our local elected officials face the very same problem. So if you want to talk about Justin Heap in Maricopa County as the newly elected recorder, look at what happened with Justin Heap. He's elected, he defeats the county recorder Richer, fortunately, and then those people who were being swept out of office by the voters, what did they do? They changed the rules relating to activities that this newly elected recorder Justin Heap could engage in. And, you know, my belief is that was an effort by them to help stymie Justin Heap so they can be immensely critical of the work that he does as the recorder right off the bat. So what Justin Heap needs to look at, and people across the United States, if they happen to be a pro-Donald Trump related elected official, is they need to look at every policy that was implemented just before them coming into power, right? Every process or procedure that was implemented just before them coming into power, because a lot of these were put in place to be traps to allow people to say, oh yeah, look, they're not doing their job, right? They're screwing everything up. And so take a long, hard look at what rules were left in place for you, what policies and procedures were left in place for you. But not only that, what type of, you know, operational structures, right? You know, it used to be, you know, that issue X was handled in this regard. Does issue X now have to be handled in some different regard? Because that process might not function, and it might lead to a significant number of lawsuits against your local, your county, or your state government officials, as those who were swept out of power and some of the bureaucrats that support them within the administration try to stymie the new incoming elected officials. So we need to find a new line on which to do the Hatch Act. I'll just refer to the Hatch Act and talk about it at the federal, state, and local level, although it doesn't apply at all levels, so that we can have a better idea of what's taking place. I've already said that the federal government has approximately 1.9 million federal bureaucrats working for it. It's 3.1 million if you include the active duty military. At the state level, there are approximately 5.5 million government bureaucrats. And at the county and local level, there are roughly 15 million bureaucrats. A total roughly across the country, 22 million. That's a significant group of people, folks. And part of the problem is many of these individuals have become politicized. We spent a lot of time living under the administration of what was known as the Chevron Doctrine until the U.S. Supreme Court just overthrew the Chevron Doctrine and kicked its ass right out of our processes. And so the Chevron Doctrine, basically what it did is it gave quasi-legislative and quasi-judicial authority to these unelected bureaucrats in government, federal government employ, so they could make rules, interpret those rules, and then penalize you, the American people, for violating those rules and how they were interpreted. And so this was a significant blow against the bureaucracy. And I think a lot of the blowback we're seeing right now is that a lot of these people believe that they are the defenders of democracy. They've come to believe that they are the ones who should make the rules and make the decisions that guide our lives, because they can better see via their positions within the U.S. federal government what the best policies and procedures are. And so, you have a lot of politicization taking place. And here's a video, right? Watch this video where they're talking about one way to resist an administration with which you disagree is to create a parallel organizational structure. Here.
Another act of commission is creating parallel structures or self-organizing units. So organizing in the office place, in the workplace. This is particularly important in the event of abuses of power, unethical activity, to be able to self-organize, make decisions without obeying or legitimizing certain decisions that are made.
All right. So, they're telling people to create this parallel organizational structure. So let's say you have the Central Intelligence Agency and you have a legitimate organizational structure for the Central Intelligence Agency, and then you have this ghost structure created where employees are actually in the legitimate side taking orders from this ghost administrative agency. And so what a lot of people are talking about right now is it appears that the Central Intelligence Agency had actually created these dual parallel structures, and that this ghost parallel structure was being led by John Brennan against Donald J. Trump. And so, my guess is he's gonna, have some issues in the near future. So you have this ghost agency, right? There's a lot of talk right now about Zelensky coming out and saying, "Oh, I didn't receive that much U.S. aid. I don't know where this, $100 billion went." A lot of it came back to politicians. We already know that. A lot of it, folks, disappeared into these ghost national intelligence community structures so that they can continue to run black ops or other psyops, directly against the American people, or they can keep muddying the waters of the world, which they have done, and keep America on a war footing, which benefits their friends in the national security arena, in terms of Halliburton and all of these people who make weapons of war for the United States and other players in war throughout the world. And so, there are many other ways that federal bureaucrats, but this is illegal. This is what we call authoritarianism. This is what we call dictatorship. If I myself were to seize all government power into my own hands and make rules that you had to follow or else I would squash you like a bug, people would call me a dictator. This is no different, folks. When the United States federal government basically seizes power and says, yeah, we're not going to listen to this administration, we're going to stymie you in every way we can, and we're going to implement our own policy decisions vis-a-vis these ghost bureaucracies or these ghost organizational structures that we've created, that is dictatorship just as much, folks. That is a group of people, a small group of unelected people who think they have the power and the authority to dictate to you, the American people. Hence, it is a dictatorship. And so, again, this happens at the federal, the state, and at the local level. And we need to get a handle on this, and we need to find a better dividing line. When does a government employee, become a politician? Because that's exactly what they are, is politicians without power. And so here's another gentleman, right, in his own words, talking to you about how other federal employees, and this guy is talking to other federal employees, giving him instructions on what he does to help stymie the administration. Watch.
I just recommend everyone who works in the federal government, if you read the mainstream press, like who is covering your agency, who is working for ProPublica, who is working for Politico. They all have Signal accounts. Text them, leak everything you can, save your emails, I record these meetings, I send it over. And I can't believe I'm showing my face here, but I've been doing this for months. And if you do have to write something with really crappy, just unintelligible, ungrammatical language to just make them look terrible.
All right, so you've seen him in his own words, right? And this brings up, one of the reasons I posted this part of the video is I saw a lot of fucking outcry on Twitter about a letter that came from the Trump administration about Colombia. And they were complaining, oh, he can't even spell Colombia, right? There are people in the administration that will go out of their way to destroy the administration, to tarnish its reputation, and to make it look bad. This individual does these types of things he was saying he does on your dime. He's being paid U.S. taxpayer dollars to support the administration in an apolitical manner, regardless of what the administration is. And so, with that, I say, maybe the best option is we come together right now and we sort of create a federal government Noah's Ark, where we put just those pieces into the ark that the United States of America needs to continue moving forward as a nation, and then we flood the rest of the federal government and we wash it all away. And when this land-based ark hits ground, then we can start anew. And that's probably what really needs to happen if the United States is to get its federal government under control. And with that, I say peace.
And of course, if information is classified, employees can be fired or criminally prosecuted, as Sarah may talk a little bit about. So